Hey everybody, welcome. Hope you guys had a great day. Welcome to the 9th day of the 12 days of Christmas. So excited. We've got a great group to get started here live, but I want to give a big shout out to those of you guys that are pretty much almost immediately watching this as soon as we upload it to our new YouTube channel. So for those of you that are with us now, if you've not already subscribed, please do. I kind of only just found out how to answer to comments. So I'm super new to this. We're just rolling with it. I don't even have nice cover pages, but we're throwing it up there and everybody seems to be enjoying it. So I'm sort of holy cow, people are actually watching what we're doing. So it's really fun. So I just want to say thank you to those of you that are not watching us live. I truly appreciate it, and spread the word because everybody does seem to be enjoying this. Now, I've told people in every recording, because you never know who's going to catch what. So my 12 days of Christmas, actually, Christina, you're a perfect example. You do an Advent, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my thing with that, there is pretty much nothing in my life other than a few things in which I'm that far prepared in advance to be able to put something like that together. And I've actually never, I have to say, even participated in one. So as I was thinking about the holidays and thinking about what I could do just to bring a little bit of festivity, a little bit of joy to the community. And as I've also been saying, I feel like all of us with small business, we kind of rush to Christmas. You know, we're busy packaging, you're busy dyeing, you know, we're busy getting everybody else's gift giving ready. And then I am not that kind of person that's Christmas shopping in July. So I'm always last minute Nelly. And I just feel like it always feels a bit rushed. And so actually this year, I did not get caught up in that rat race. I just kind of took the mindset, look, people know where I am. You know, I've got stuff on the website. If you're looking for a gift, great. If not, I wasn't going to flood my social media with that kind of stuff this year. But I still wanted to find a way to kind of get myself and other people in the holiday spirit. And one of the things I also thought about was I feel like we get to Christmas and then it just sort of deflates from there. And then, you know, of course, people are on vacation and everybody's kind of looking forward to New Year, but it just sort of, for me at least, you know, the holiday feel kind of drops off a bit after that. And yet there's so many different holidays and so many different ways people celebrate. And so lo and behold, I came up with the idea of doing the 12 days of Christmas. So we are, of course, on the 9th day. We are around in the corner and getting to our wrap-up party on Friday, which I will say, make sure you watch all the way through our video if you're not with us live or if you miss the end, just because the one thing I will say is we do have this great, huge raffle basket that is going to be raffled off on Friday live. So there's going to be one lucky winner, of course, for this basket, which is valued at about $550. We do have a skein of yarn in here from our guest as well. So that's pretty cool. Most of our guests are kind of inadvertently highlighted in the basket. And for myself, if you don't know already, our code is Holiday Life, LIYF. That not only gets you 10% off, but that's what gets you in for the raffle basket. So for every $10 that you spend shopping with us, using that code only, because I want to make sure it's more like VIP, not just my random person that's shopping for skincare this time of year because we're all drying out. So if you use that code, that gets you in for the raffle basket. And again, for every $10, you get a ticket that goes in. So of course, you know the game. The more tickets that are in there, the greater your chance is of perhaps being selected for the raffle basket. So we'll go into more detail towards the end about what's in there if we have time. If not, just have to stay tuned for another episode. So I have to just ramble off with this story first. I feel bad before I let Christina start to speak, but I was super late getting to open up the Zoom. And that's because I had this bizarre thing happen. So in my world, when somebody calls and they're like, I have this really strange question. I'm like, no. There's nothing ever strange in my world. We get the most bizarrest of questions, but I have to tell you, this one was definitely off the charts and it's super fun. And now I've got all these people wrapped up into it. So it actually was a law office that called, which at first, of course, I start to panic, but nothing related to anything other than that's what it happened to be. And apparently, I don't know if somebody owned this stuffed alpaca that resided in the law office or if it was gifted over the holidays, but somebody kidnapped the stuffed alpaca, left a note, a typed note, so you couldn't determine the handwriting. It was definitely somebody in the office. Obviously, this is like inter-office, like fun team building, just good holiday spirit stuff. Because I'm like, are you really kidding me? So it was, photos were left behind. So the alpaca was taken. Now, she did also say, actually, she said to me, did you see somebody on your farm with an alpaca, with an alpaca head? I'm like, no. So I'm not sure if the stuffed alpaca got its head chopped off, but I think it was really like the whole stuffed alpaca that went on this journey, apparently did a little Christmas shopping, went to some stores and was on its journey to find its birth parents, is what the note said. And it now found its birth parents and it's at peace. And so apparently this stuffed alpaca is, I don't know if it really was left at this farm, but so there's pictures of this stuffed alpaca in front of other real alpacas and a barn. And purposely a couple of photos were taken at like a front entrance, a little snippet of the barn, like not enough to like make it totally easy. Background pictures of the alpacas, no location or anything, but the law office is in Hicksville. And their best guess is that none of the employees would like travel too far to be able to go and find this. Now, here's my thing. First of all, I'm like, I hope you're not like some kind of investigative lawyer. Ruth Ann, I should get you in on this. So, because I thought, first of all, if you think you're looking for an alpaca farm, you're calling me. I'm a llama farm. And the other part of it was, then she said to me, the only other place I think it maybe might could be is this Clover Brook alpacas and they're in Hyde Park. And then she goes to me, this all through text, is that far? And I'm thinking, Google it. Like, like that's what I just did. And actually, I know who that farm is. So I said, no, I know it's not them. But I thought, like, isn't that sort of a little bit of investigating you should have done already? So anyway, I now like catapulted into like, this is my absolute mission in life, which is why I was like super late trying to get ready for this. So I actually literally, one of my llama kids, her dad's a detective. I like send messages to him. I send the pictures to my veterinarian because what I've determined is, first of all, it is a little sad. I can absolutely tell with 100% unequivocally, the alpacas have not been shorn, or they at least were not shorn last year. But honestly, based on the very not clear photos, there's way too much volume on them. So that's kind of sad. But it's also not like a full-blown like legit alpaca farm, because if it's here on Long Island, there's really only one and I know them and they would shear their animals and I know what their farm looks like. So it's like some sort of backyard barn. So who knows where the hell it could be. But this is my mission now. Now, she did say that if we figure it out, there might be a reward. I really could care less about that, but I just thought it was pretty funny because apparently there is a ransom. And so now I want to like help her figure this out. And meanwhile, she's like, I said, I really do have like things going on in my life, but I think this is completely entertaining. She's like, girl, I'm supposed to be putting a deposition together for a case tomorrow. She's like, my boss is about to kill us for all the billable hours that we've been spending on this. So I just think it's hysterical. And I'll have to post some pictures on my stories and get you guys involved with this now, and we'll see where it goes. I can totally share the pictures. I won't do it on here. I'll put them up in my stories because I plan on trying to put them in like homestead forums. Like, I'm damned and determined I'm going to solve this. So anyway, that's my funny story. That's why I literally had like 10 minutes to like shower, dress, and, get myself ready and take care of the farm and all that good stuff. So I had to get that in. I'm so sorry.
That is hysterical. I love it. So where are you left off now? Like, do you think you can figure it out, or?
I mean, the thing is, she's not been able to say like if it's definitely on Long Island, but I think that her guess is they live in Hicksville, so it's not like a law office that's in New York City where people would be traveling from the tri-state area. So I'm pretty sure it's on Long Island. And I'm thinking this got to be a pretty jerk move if they like drag this stuffed alpaca, to like Hudson Valley region and, to make it that difficult. So my only one thing, but I don't know how to do it, is like, I don't know if I should admit that like sometimes I'll watch that catfish show and you know how they like take pictures of people and like drop it into something and then it like pulls up and you can like figure out whether or not it's like a legit person or if it's like stock photos. So I'm thinking there must be some way to like drop this picture into something. I don't know. It's just funny.
I'm definitely excited to follow along in your stories.
I know, me too. And honestly, she seemed like a really cool woman. So I think, regardless of whether I solve it or they solve it, she's going to, keep me posted for sure. But, like I said, my llama kid, Clara, who takes lessons from me, her dad is like a legit detective. So I call the house. I'm like, is Eric working tonight? So she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, you got to get him on this case for me. I'm like, I'm sure he has more important things to solve, but I'm like, I got to get a legit detective to help figure this out.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that's my world. On any given day, you never know what that.
You never know.
Going to. So anyway, so that's my deal. But I do also want to thank everybody as well I didn't even give a shout out to Lisa Hoffman last night. Actually, I'm wearing her Shelter Island cowl that she did. I have to say, you guys are so funny. I'm not a hard sell kind of person. We throw some patterns in front of your face last night and next thing you know, like you're getting stuff. I'm like, so anyway, I appreciate it. So Turtle Cove sweater was popular one, and our West Hampton Dunes cow was a popular one, and Shelter Island cow. So I'm gonna do this quick because then after this I'm putting my hair up because you guys know I hate my hair down. So this, we were talking about the howl last night. So this is the benefit of the howl, so that it's a nice big cowl, but then you can also pull it up as a hood. And certainly depending on your knitting and your gauge, this can end up being looser or snugger so you don't feel like you're stuck in a tube. But it's a great little piece, especially when it's snowing out or raining out and you want to get that up and get everything out of your way. So just wanted to show you guys that. All right, I am done. I'm going to turn the tables over. And so I'm going to let you introduce yourself, give like a little brief background synopsis, because also, as many of my guests, which is amazing, like we've worked together once already. And of course I know who you are, but like, we don't really like chop it up or chit chat that much. So I don't really know too much about you. So I have a lot of questions and we'll just see what direction it goes in.
Sounds good. My name is Christina Lundborg, and I am the dyer behind Chelsea Lux. I owned a yarn shop. I just closed during COVID. We were going on our 10th year that we would to be open, March of 2020, and my lease was up. We had a store I started online in 2012. And then we opened up a brick and mortar store about almost a year out in March of 2012. And then we were there for 4 years in Colts Neck. And then we moved to Red Bank and we were there for 4 years. So it was 8 years. I always said I wanted to do it for 10. I was a little short, I wanted to, that was 8 years. And then, COVID hit and I just decided I started dyeing yarn. I can't remember the year. I feel like it was like 2015, maybe. I have like my beginning dye books, but I started dyeing yarn and I guess everybody that would come to the store would really like it. And I started dyeing more. I remember I started with like 5 skeins, 10 skeins for a wool walk that we had, and I sold out of the yarn. And then I still have my book where I wrote like 10 skeins sold, and then I bought 20 and then I sold that. And then, it just kind of
snowballed.
Yeah, it was like my favorite. That's why I saved the book, because, I was nervous ordering 30 skeins of yarn. And then, now when I order yarn, I order it at such a larger scale. It's so much different. My business from then, now and from then, and you know what I'm trying to say. It's different. But I closed the store because I guess I was being pulled in so many different directions, and I really, really loved the store, and I loved having people come. And for people that came to my store or know me from when I had the store, it was like very welcoming, and we had a nice big table where everyone would come and sit and knit, and it was all about the community. And I felt that when I opened my shop, there was nothing like that in the area at the time. And that's what I loved about it, meeting all the people and having our knit nights. And on the weekends, we had knit nights with different people. And that's what I really, really enjoyed. But when I started dyeing the yarn, it kind of was a lot of work too. And both of them were kind of pulling me at, I had to be home dyeing. I have a studio at home. So I was dyeing at home, and then I would run to the store and we would twist and label the yarn, and then I would go back. So it was kind of a lot. I remember I bought a pickup truck in January of 2020, and my husband was teasing me because all I did was schlep yarn from point A to point B. I just brought bins of yarn. All I felt like I did was I put the yarn in the bin, and I would bring the yarn, unload the yarn, and then bring all we do is we have moving bins. Like, we joke about it all the time. It's like all these plastic bins are always like moving around. And
at least with the store, though, you get to order yarn and it just shows up at the store. But then you were like the delivery person as well.
Yes. So we just moved on our chapter of just doing the hand dyeing. And then we did wholesale, and we still do wholesale. We do a lot of wholesale, and we do regular from our website. And it just was too much for me to do on my own. So, here we are today, still going strong. This is our third, I think this was our fourth year of Advent. Was this the fourth or the third? I can't remember. It all gets so blurry.
Well, how many years has it been then since you've closed the store and you've just been
2020? So now but we did Advent before then. So I think this might be the fourth, sorry, I don't remember. It's a long day. I was looking to see in the comments if anyone knew.
I know, that's what I was just looking at too.
I think we did 1, 2, maybe this was the fourth. I think this was the fourth, sorry. And that really takes up so much time because we start dyeing in March for delivery in November. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So we do put them up for sale, I think around April, usually like the first or second week in April, so that we sort of know, because we start right away. So that's why we do it early, so that I could kind of, I have to think about it. I've already prepared for next year. I already know what we're doing. Like, we've been thinking about it all year. So it really consumes us as a whole, as far as, the fall, because we do 2 big events and then we have Advent. So I can't really do anything else. And we enjoy it. We do Vlogmas. This was our third year. God help me. I don't know. 3rd year of Vlogmas. And it was so much fun. It is fun. In the beginning, it seems so overwhelming when you first start. It's like, whoa, I have to do this 25 days. Oh my God, what am I going to say for 25 days in a row? People are going to get so bored, and it's really kind of hard to think about content and stuff. But again, I'm like you, we just roll with it and we just do it. It's fun. We just do it. And a lot of people enjoy it during the holiday season. We get so many emails from so many people. It's so nice. People thanking us and saying how much they enjoyed it and they spent the Christmas holiday season with us, or, that they had an operation and they couldn't move, or, they were missing family members and we made them smile. And it's like, when you think about it from that angle, it really just warms my heart, and it makes me, all that work, it makes it so worthwhile. If I make one person smile, then that's all that, at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. So like you said, you wanted to continue on the holiday. I was like, yeah, I'm in,
Well, now I'm going to be that person because there's got to be somebody else out there that has not done Advent. And well, hell, if you're already going to be promoting it very shortly for next year, so let's use the platform, talk to us about Advent in general, your Advent, what's your take on it? Because look, I know you're not the only one doing an Advent. So, like what's your angle on it? Like if somebody hasn't done it before and they want to get involved in it, how would you describe it, in terms of, enticing people to that? And also then for those people that have done your Advent before, I don't know if you can say, but how do you try to do it different each year? And are you allowed to, give a little sneak peek about what you've got in store for this coming year?
So I don't know how I managed to do it. I really don't, but I guess once I have a vision, I always like to have a vision of what I see. So I'll give you last year's example. Last year, this brand that I really like called Stony Clover, they do these bags where you can customize your own bags. And they had this après-ski bag, and you buy the stickers and you stick them on the bag. And I was like, oh, après-ski, that's it. So we just had this, this vision, and I kind of just went with it. And I just thought snow and fluffy pastel colors, and everything's going to be just like snow bunny and outside. And I just saw this like theme. And when I was Googling photos, I found a photo of a painting of people just skating on a pond with a background of trees, and everything was sort of like this muted pastel theme. And I was like, yep, that's it. We're doing it. That was it. And I just, pulled 25 colors from that. And then I have a graphic designer that helps me or works for me. And then I kind of just bounce my ideas off of what I want, and she just gets me. So I'm very lucky in that she understands me. And we were working with Shayna Billow, who designed 2 patterns for us, the hat and the cowl. The hat actually came after, but I had sent her the Advent, and she designed a cowl using one every day. This was the first time that we did a pattern that we included in the Advent, which was really.
I'm going to interrupt. So first of all, these are mini skeins, right? That
25.
So now when you're saying you sent her the Advent, so are you like pre-dyeing these 25 skeins so that then you send it to her, and then she was creating the pattern already for that?
Yes. So I think how it works, usually people probably finish a little earlier than I do. This year, because we had done it a few years prior, we were very organized, very on the ball. We knew what we were doing. Our biggest problem is twisting. So
why is that?
The twisting of the yarn.
Right.
So
why is that your biggest
because
problem?
There's a lot of them to do. So we have Lisa, who works with us. She twists all the yarn and makes it beautiful. If you ever see it all.
That little machine?
Yes. So she has a machine. I have a machine here, but she has her own machine, and she does it. And she's been working. She used to work in my shop. And when we closed, she just continued to, stay on. And she makes them all pretty. But when we do other events and do the mini skeins, it becomes a lot of work. So we actually got someone else to help out. And it's, that helped us a lot with the doing regular work and Advent work, because it really is like a full-time thing. So then you have to think about packaging and, prepping the boxes. So what we love to do every year that we've done so far, we have a party. So the day we start shipping a Friday, and we start at 8, but we have everything prepped and ready to go before that Friday. There's years before where it was chaotic and we were still twisting and doing full skeins and labeling. This year we were all prepared and all done and ready. And it was weird because we were like, we're done. This is crazy. So that was, it's chaotic, and I take over my whole house, and we have fluff everywhere and candy and everything because we're just packing and just going. And we set up a station in my kitchen, 1 through 12, and 12 through 24 in my dining room, or 12 through 25 in my dining room.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that absolutely consumes my home with
Consumes my home. I mean, my whole house turns into Advent Central. It's like, if you think about it, I kind of need to rent a space probably to do this, but I like being home. So, we just do it out of the house and it's so fun. And, then we usually get the international ones out first and prep and then start. It usually takes us probably by Monday, we're done. This year we were done on Sunday. So we did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days of shipping and we were done. And it's definitely so fun and you're relieved when they leave, but then you're stressed that they're going to get to their destinations. And every little mini skein is in the box and everybody has their full skein, their adventure pack. And we do like little fun things with the Advent where like this year, hang on, I'll show you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is mine. So we did a little adventure pack, which is what we call an adventure pack. And our theme was après ski. So our graphic designer made us these bags and it's like a fake lift ticket.
Uh-huh.
And then my husband makes the candles. So we did a candle and then one of my friends that makes lip balm did a lip balm like for chapped lips when you're on the ski slope and stuff. And then, we did a full skein. I forgot what else was in the bag.
Now, does that go along with the Advent or that's in addition to it?
This is in addition to the Advent. So we just make it fun where we do like a little extra fun thing, that goes with the bag, the Advent. So they don't have to buy that.
But you operate on pre-order though, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that makes it easy. So at least you know how many you need to do and things like that, right? Yeah.
And then once everybody sees people opening up the Advent, they're like, well, I didn't get a bag with mine, or I didn't get this with mine, and I didn't get a full skein. And some people didn't order it because they didn't know it existed, so then we feel bad. We do always order maybe 25 extra, a little extra so that you do see. And, some people I do forget. I'm in a flow state when I'm wrapping. So sometimes maybe I forgot to put one in the bag or, mistakes happen, but it's definitely very fun. But it's a ton of work, but I feel like at the end when you're done, it's all worth it. When you see your product out there and people enjoy it and they like it. Well, you hope that they do, so.
Now, do you want to give a little sneak peek about what your theme is for? Because because you said you're already, so I'm assuming you're already good to go if orders open up in April, you said?
Mm-hmm. April, usually I'll pick the date. It's like April, the first or second week. Usually we do it like the 15th or something, which is tax day. So that's not a good thing. It's not a good day, but usually whatever that Friday is before then that we do it. Yeah. So it's good. So, I feel like I want to wait until for the
theme. Don't be silly. That's fine. This is your platform. So whatever you want to share, whatever you want to let people know, I just have to ask, of course.
Yes. Well, because we're like 99.8% sure that's what the route we're going.
I think so. You're not even totally solidified. That's fine.
No, like last year I was 100%. This year I'm a little just like I have that little one, like 0.25% that I'm not 100% sure, but it's probably going to go that way because it's hard also to think of an idea, what do you want to do? What's the theme? And we have to make it different. The first year, I think we did vintage ornament, which was fun. And then the second year, oh my God, I don't remember.
It's like me trying to remember the names of my baby llamas every year. It all blurs together after a while.
Yes. Oh, no, wait, I think it was Cozy Cabin.
Very funny, Dawn. She's saying, don't ask me to help you name it because
Oh, I can't name stuff either. It's terrible. I'm awful. I do this to my husband. I'm like, what does this look like? He's like,
Right.
yarn. I'm like, oh, thanks. My son actually helps a lot with the names because, and he's really good at helping me name things because I want to name everything. Oh, sweet dreams, unicorn. I don't think about things, but he's like, oh, that looks like lone wolf. And I'm like, oh, I like that. Come up with like creative, fun names, but
I'm
it's
usually
hard.
either on my thesaurus, like doing thesaurus.com, or I'll pull up like I'll do paint color names or things like that, because sometimes like you said, you'll have an idea, and then I don't know about you, like I sort of develop some lines. So like if it's this blend, then it's gotta kind of fall within this category, like our pink clove, everything's flowers, hyacinth, flower, bells of Ireland. So, but yeah, sometimes when you get those one-ofs, you're like, I don't know, if there's no theme to it.
I have nothing up here sometimes. And when you're downstairs, my husband just started helping me dye. I had someone working with me, Woody, who was like, I loved him. Not that he's not gone or anything, but no, not good, but he just moved on and he moved to Georgia to be with his family. They recently moved. And I kind of knew he was moving, so I was preparing myself, and he moved right after Thanksgiving. So that was also a really big adjustment for me because I was going to be with my husband dyeing yarn, who all of a sudden out of the blue was dyeing yarn. Like, wait, what is going on? So I was either going to sink or swim come November 25th.
And you're either going to be married or divorced.
Probably, right? Yeah, it was like one of those. But I have to say, he's really like taken Woody's spot. He'll never be Woody. I don't want to like ever take that away from Woody because I love Woody, but my husband is really like stepped up to the plate and helps me. And at the end of the day, he's like, oh, that was a lot. I'm like, I know, because you're doing math formulas all day. It's all math. And I hate math, but it's math. It's like how many, the die, you're measuring constant, add 2, take away 2, add this, add that. The calculator's always out. We're always like 32 minus 6 plus 4 minus 1, and he loves that kind of stuff because he's very technical and he does numbers all day. I don't, but at the end of the day, your brain is fried. And then you come upstairs and you're like, oh, I forgot to name this. What's the name of this? And, I look at a pencil, I'm like, pencil.
Right.
We're gonna name a pencil.
We've all had some of those yarns where you're basically like, I don't give a shit what it's named. Just buy it.
At the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I don't know, whatever you want to name it. That's why I'm like, what does this look like? Or what does this look like?
Well, now wait, I have to ask. So what is your husband's full-time job, or is he retired, or?
He actually retired during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, he retired during COVID. He worked on Wall Street and he was like a loan trader. So
and now he's dyeing yarn.
Yes. Little did he know, he just, when COVID happened and he was working from his computer at home and we have a desk upstairs, but I have like, this is my home office. And he was sitting at the desk and he's like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. I don't like this. And he's a people person. And he's just like, I'm done. I'm 60. I'm done. I was waiting for a few more years. He's like, nope, I'm done. So he was miserable doing it online. And we were like, well, you just retire, luckily he could do it. But I mean, he still works and he has other things that he does. Yeah. So he does keep himself busy and occupied with other things, but he does love my business.
That's great. And I love when they get involved, because then, well, sometimes, but like to a certain extent, because then they do have a better perspective, because otherwise you get the questions like, what do you do? I love when I get the question, what are you doing today? I don't know. I think I'm just going to sit on the couch. Like, I don't know, like just everything that's involved. Or like you were saying, when he maybe started dyeing with you for the first time, and then he was like, oh, this is a lot. I'll never forget the first time Christopher came and helped us to vend at Vogue Knitting Live in New York City. He was like, I'm exhausted, and he's like, I shoe horses for a living. I'm exhausted. My body doesn't stand straight up all day long. you know, I mean,
And standing is a lot. It's a
and you're
lot.
on, like, right, you're constantly
On.
on and just going, and so it's good. And when Christopher got his hip done, he was stuck at home for a little bit, and we had him doing some packaging and doing our bath fizzies and things like that. And I have to say, we actually kind of enjoyed him being home and, you know, helping with part of the production and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
It's
good for
nice
them to
when they
see.
see that end of it, because you know, my husband going to work, taking the boat every day, going into the work, being in an office and working in the finance industry. And then all of a sudden he would come on the weekends and come into the store and love it. He would like help wind the yarn. And, you know, that's where he got the nickname Red Bank Mike, because someone, even though his name is Tads, he was helping a customer and they called like 20 minutes later to tell him that they wanted more yarn, and they had called and said, hey, is Mike there? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, there's no one here by that name. And she's like, oh no, Mike, he was just helping me about 10 minutes ago. I was in the back with the sale yarn. And I was like, oh, hold on. So that's where we got the name Red Bank Mike from. I mean, it was hysterical. But he would come in and love it. He'd be talking to everyone like, yeah, he would package the yarn. He would do the shipping, the orders, and then bring them to the post office. The post office met the postman. They all loved him. They were like, hey, Red Bank Mike. And it was it's a riot. And he loves, I mean, he does all the emails. He does all the packaging. He loves it. When he meets people from work, like from his industry, he talks about my yarn shop. And I'm like, oh my God, stop. It's like, stop.
Well, that's great. I mean, you know, and look, it's a great industry, you know, in terms
Yes.
of, you know, as far as predominantly, I'm sure the people he's helping are ladies, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just,
Oh, and they love him, and he totally eats it all up. We did a show, what God, sorry, my brain is fried. The show Cake-a-Palooza.
yes,
And
yes.
he was standing there talking to all the women at the in the line, and you know, they were all like, oh, we love you, Red Bank Mike. And he was like, yeah. He loves it. He loves it.
Oh, well, that's great. I mean, that's great that you guys have found a way to, you know, do that together and stuff. And
Yeah.
you know, it is good. It is good too. Like, and you were just saying, even with COVID, so many people, right, have made changes. I mean, not only did we as business owners have to pivot, but then even just, he's a perfect example. There were so many people that were like, you know what, I don't want to do it this way. I don't like it. And, you know, I'm done. And that's what I was saying in one of our other sessions. That was kind of the weird outcome for me. I don't know if you experienced any, not necessarily supply chain issues, because everybody
Definitely.
did. But mine was more of, I had some issues with the same thing like your husband. People got through COVID and then they're like, you know what, I'm retiring. Thankfully, they passed their business off to somebody else who could pick it up, and still that clunky, you know, trying to get through those transitions. Those were the things I did not foresee,
No.
along with, you know, being able to get some of the things that we utilize for our production. So, you know, I'm not sure if, you know, you had any bumps and grinds as a
We
result.
couldn't get yarn.
Really?
We couldn't
Okay.
get yarn. And I was thankful that at that point, when we hit COVID, I was ordering a lot of yarn. And the guy that I work with was like, listen, we don't have a lot. And I know that you ordered this, so I'm going to take whatever you order a week. Cause I like to order per week. I didn't really like to have it in the house. Now I have it all in storage, but now with the supply chain issues, a lot has lightened up.
Better, yeah.
But he said, I set this aside in the warehouse for you per week. So at the end of the month, you have all the yarn. So just continue to order. I was very lucky. I mean, I had to pay up front, but I mean, that was a lot of money to lay out. And, you know, we weren't sure if we couldn't get mini skeins, we couldn't get things. And we had Advent at the time, you know, what were we going to do? You know, I was so used to always having DK on hand that I would just, if I needed whatever I needed, I would order and then have it shipped. And, you know, all of a sudden I couldn't do that. Or we needed our mohair and there was only, you know, 200 or not. I could only get 50, not 200. Even the dyes that I use, so many of the colors changed. So the
Mhm.
dye lots were, I guess, because so many people were hoarding the dye, that the dye lots were, I would order a dye lot and all of a sudden it was completely, it was like I was making this color and then I got this.
Right.
So, I had to like retransform like 10 of my colors because I was like, what am I going to do? Oh my God. We had a green and a blue and everything changed. So I mean, still now, I think there's a lot of supply chain issues with that kind of stuff. So you
Yeah.
really have to be careful and knowing what you want to order. That really changed a lot for me. And that made me feel anxious as far as like, I didn't feel calm about ordering or I don't like not being able to get stuff, that was stressful.
Sure. Yeah, no, and you definitely have to be creative because then, like you said, if there was something you can't get or the color changed,
Mhm.
you just got to be able to roll with it. I mean,
I know.
there's just a point in time where there's nothing we can do, right? And
Right.
thankfully, everybody's kind of in this fishbowl together.
Yeah.
And I hope for you as well as for myself. I mean, I feel like most people were, pretty understanding, but
Yeah.
then of course there was that whole lovely price increase and all
Yeah.
of that kind of stuff. So it's been an interesting time, but at the same time, now you were already online when COVID hit, correct?
Mhm.
So you were
Yeah.
already utilizing, that medium 100%. So I
Mhm.
know at least for me, the blessing was, relying on that a bit more and not being involved in running around and doing the rat race, as much. But
Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask you. You mentioned 2 events. So you do the Advents. So that's a big chunk. Obviously you're not a brick and mortar anymore. So where are the other places, that people end up finding you?
So in September, I think it's the weekend after Labor Day, they have a New Jersey Sheep and Wool Festival.
Yeah. Okay.
So I love doing that. It's my favorite show, and it's very small. Well, although now it's gained a lot of recognition
I was
and a
gonna
lot.
say, I actually wandered upon that back in the day. I don't know how long you've been doing it. Back in the day, it used to be in the spring, and
Yes.
it was in Ringo's, New
Mhm.
Jersey. And
Mhm.
I was shearing because that actually is my route that I used to take to go to college. But I was in the area shearing, and I don't know why I had time, and I just was like, and then pulled in and checked it out. But obviously now it's changed, different time of year. I think different location, right?
I think, yes, it's in, oh God, I forget it every time because I always think it's in Ringo's, but it's not. It's like 5 minutes away from there. It's
Uh-huh.
in, I went blank. Sorry.
No, it was just a point of conversation that I know it changed dates.
It's
it changed.
right near like, not, God, I'm blank. I'm sorry. I'm pulling a blank. And I just paid for my booth just today and I just went blank because they
Well,
call themselves the Garden State Breeders Club. That's what it's called.
okay.
It's not even really called the New Jersey Sheep and Wool Festival. I think people in New Jersey, and we just made that up. I was going when it was in Ringo's, but I think this will be my 5th year.
Okay.
So it was my first show that I ever did. And I went and it was super small. I had a 10 by 10. I still only had a 10 by 10 only last year. Was it last year or the year before was the first year that I switched up. I got a bigger booth because my customers were complaining, but I never wanted anything big. I like it small. So they were like, you need a bigger booth. This is ridiculous. Like, we can't come in here, you can't fit. And then there's yarn and it was too crazy. But it's always a fun time. And then we did Cake-a-Palooza. This would be the 2nd time that we did it. And next year, I think they're doing it again. And then we have Advent. So I really can't do anything.
So then you actually get to go to Rhinebeck as like a normal human being and enjoy that?
I'm tired though. I'm really tired.
Because of Cake-a-Palooza being on Friday now, and then
yeah, so you go, you don't sleep, you get up, it's it's vending is really hard. It definitely takes a toll on my body. I have this Aura ring and I got it probably after the Jersey Sheep and Wool Festival, and I started wearing it right before Rhinebeck, and it tracks your sleep so that it tells you how many hours you're sleeping. It's interesting, and it tracks your steps and your heart and all sorts of stuff that it tracks.
Cool.
It's really cool. And it's a little bit more like interesting than an Apple Watch would be.
Okay.
It tells you more information. Although they probably, if you can get an app
Oh,
for it, I'm
wait,
sure.
so it's funny though, because, well, not that like this is all fun stuff. I mean, when you said first like an Aura ring, like at first I was thinking like, remember back in the day, those mood rings that would like change colors. So that's what I was thinking, but no, you mean like a legit, it's like an Apple Watch, but it's a ring?
So it's a ring, and on the inside it has, if you could see, it has like little sensors, and the sensors go on your skin, and it registers your sleep, your blood pressure when you're sleeping. It knows if you like movement, how much movement you have. It's really cool.
Very cool. Well, I know somebody's gonna ask, so you might as well like give it a shout out. So what is the name of it?
Oh,
I
I'll
know-
put it in the chat. So it's
Yeah.
actually, it's called the Aura ring. I just got one from my husband for my for Christmas. But during Rhinebeck, it tells you a sleep score. So like last night I went to sleep at 9:30, and I wake up at 6. So it tells you how many hours. So you get a sleep score based on that. Like on Friday nights when my son, because he just finished college and he lives here now. And when he goes out on Friday and Saturday nights, my sleep score is like 47% because I'm up all night waiting for him to come home. But like judging like last night, it was 96%. When I did Rhinebeck, it was like, you need to recover. You need to recover.
It's like
Recovery is
alarm,
key today.
alert.
It was like red and all smoky, and I'm thinking, oh my God, oh no, I need to recover, it was,
You're
but
like,
it's,
no shit, I need to recover.
I know, I was like, last year I didn't have this ring. I felt it and I felt this way, but now I know, now I justified it. So, those shows are a lot of work, but I love doing them. And then it's a great, you get out and you meet everybody and you get to see people and talk to them in person, because these things are great. And I love the Zooms. I mean, they're awesome, because before we had Zoom, I mean, yeah.
What do we do?
I know. So I love the Zooms, and I love, chatting, and then you get to meet new people also, but it is great, meeting them in person. So yeah. And then I'm doing the New Jersey the New Jersey Wool Walk. My friend Rhonda has a shop where I sell my yarn locally.
So that's kind of like a yarn crawl, right?
Yeah.
Or that's what we used to have when you were on Long Island. That's
the Long Island one. Yeah. So that's the same thing. And we have that, and I will be at her booth,
cool.
Her shop for that. So other than that,
outside of all of that, I mean, obviously yarn is just flying out of your house on a regular basis anyway. And so one of the things that I've asked, we've had, other people that are doing their own dyeing. Now, I mean, I know a little behind the scenes, meaning there's only so many places that those of you that dye your own yarn are getting your base stock from. So without sharing that, I guess my questions would be like, what are your characteristic bases that you carry? And then like overall, because of course, right, if you guys are all kind of working on similar things, you have to have an aesthetic. So what sets you apart? How is it that somebody can look at that and say, oh, that's Chelsea Yarns, versus something else? So how would you describe what your aesthetic is, and then what bases you like to work with?
My first colors that I remember I ever did, I don't even think I have a skein here, but I love, hold on, I'm gonna grab it. Like when I first started dyeing yarn, my first color that I ever did was something that was this color. You can't really see it, and it looks beige, but it's a baby pink. It's like a muted baby pink.
Okay.
And it was like it's very hard as a dyer to put what you see up here. I think that's the biggest, that's the thing that I struggle most with all the time. I see it. How am I going to put it onto this? Like, it's like an artist. How are you, painting a painting what they see in their head or their version. So when I dye yarn, like you see this basket, this is like me, it's muted. There's like browns, there's pinks, there's beige, there's a little glitter, there's a little texture, like when I see this basket, I think me. I mean, I think a lot of indie dyers have their own aesthetic, and their own vibe. And I think that's what sets them all apart from everyone else. And that's what makes it interesting. And that's what makes people want to go shop from them, because they like their vibe.
Right.
So, like when I see this behind me, like this is my vibe,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little boho chic. It's definitely pink and mauve, and it's definitely brown and chestnuts. And I just like textures. Like I'm knitting a test knit right now. This is a sweater. The lighting in here isn't great, but this is so me. There's so much texture in it, and there's different colors, and it's just, I see this and this makes my heart go pitter patter.
Now, when you say texture, is it because you're using like a boucle or a mohair?
I use a lot of like boucle and silk and linens. And I mean, I dyed your yarn. That was unbelievable. I had so much fun dyeing that. It was like my favorite. That's why when you said you'd want to do it, I was like, yes, 100%. And I got it right back to you, and I didn't want to give you any of them because I wanted to keep them all.
Well, that's always good, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
good. You, of course, because like you said, sometimes, and so there's a perfect question. Like, have you ever had a vision in your head and then you do the dyeing and you're sort of like, okay, like
Yeah.
maybe that wasn't really what was in my head. And then when you get to that place, do you have to sit with a little bit? Then does it usually grow on you? Have you ever had something that you dyed that you really absolutely hated, but then yet it was probably the first thing that sold, which has happened to me
all the time? Bestsellers.
right? I have to say, and actually it's because Erin is on and she helped us name it, because you want to talk about not knowing how to name something. So we're in a little bit of a transition because the person who has spun my yarn for years and years and years, COVID, she's like, I'm wanting to not spin anymore and I want to dedicate to my weaving. Sold the equipment. She is mentoring the new people. So it's not that I had to start fresh, but it's been slow and it's been a bit bumpy. So we have this color that actually I created, because I'm more of what I would call like a yarn designer. So everybody knows I'm not dyeing my yarns, but we do use dyed fibers, blending them in with naturals. So you and I have a very similar vibe. I've told you too, like I love your setup. And so I think in terms of the earth tones, the soft tones, that kind of thing, it works. And so that's how we create like our colors. And there is a recipe behind the scenes, but we have this color, Dahlia Denim. It's like sort of the Pantone color, but on like a fawn base. So it's a brighter pink, not neon, but just a brighter, vibrant pink. So the yarn comes back to me. We're getting ready for Rhinebeck. And, like all this yarn comes back at the last minute. We're digging through boxes and I call the mill and I'm like, well, but I don't see the Dahlia Denim. Like, where is it? Oh, it's there. Just look at the tag. Okay. So now I'm looking at the tags. It was like gray. I'm like, what the hell happened here? But it did have, like, in the light, it had like this plum undertone. So it was like this interesting sort of gray, but plum color. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Wouldn't you know it? First of all, I couldn't think of a name, because in my mind, I'm like, this is never coming back again. So we just need a name. It's in my denim line. Erin helped us name it Thistle. So we're like, fabulous, Thistle Denim. Wouldn't you know, I get to Rhinebeck. That's the shit that sold out first.
See? Always.
I'm
Always.
like, how does that happen? And I had no qualms telling people about the mistake, because I think it's a great story.
I
right?
do it all the time. I feel like every one of my biggest sellers is a mistake.
It's like a beautiful mistake, right?
I don't even want to dye it anymore. Chelsea's Coop, I can't, I'm like, oh my God, Tad, put it out of stock. I'm not dyeing it this week, because it's a lot to dye. It's like so many colors, and it's like, when you do it over and over again, it's like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, just like a rolling down the road. And it is so funny because it was a mistake. It was an accident. And it's like, everybody loves it. I mean, I love it too, but I feel like also I'm surrounded by color all day long. And this happens a lot where I dye something, I'm also very picky. So when I dye it, I'm like, nope. And then I'll give it to Lisa, and then it comes back and she twists it. I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. And she's like, not that bad. It's so good. What are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know. I really wasn't feeling it. She's like, Christina, it is so nice. And then when I do an event and I see all my stuff hanging up, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, because when it's in your head is one thing.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
whenever UPS box comes, first of all, my UPS man must think I'm like bizarre because I'm like accosting him as soon as he's in the driveway, especially if it's something exciting that I've designed and it's new and I want to get my hands on it. But so sometimes, what your vision is, it doesn't always equate to it. And I find you just have to sit on it. You just, you sort of feel a little let down, a little deflated at first because it wasn't your vision, but then it just becomes its own being and it becomes its
does.
own child and then you're fine regardless if it's so far off the palette.
Yeah,
So,
no, I agree. It's definitely, it's always the ones where you question it. It's like that was a mistake, and then people like, what do you mean a mistake? Oh my god, I love it. It's the best one. Well, we have a colorway, Where's Woody, that Woody, we called it Where's Woody because he was holding it. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, Where's Woody? So we named it. That was a complete mistake. And it turned out we have it in the line, and it's one of our favorite colors from the fall. It's definitely fun doing that and have, that day-to-day stuff where you're the behind the scenes, that part of it. Because it does look easy when you show up at a show, when you have your yarn, you're like, we're here to sell, but no one really understands like the back end of it, sweating and figuring out the palette, and your arms hurt from going like this, wringing out the yarn. And
it is. No, and I think sometimes too, and maybe in the early days of like Instagram and things like that, everything was always so picture perfect. And I just had this conversation, with somebody earlier as well, that probably more often than not, people love seeing the shit show, right?
Always. I show it all the time too. I'm like, it's not glamorous here. Yeah, I'd like it to be, but it's not, It's not. You can't.
It's great for people to have that perspective. Now, there's a big difference between like, woe is me, as opposed to like, I love this, it's fun, but it's crazy. And, I think that whole story, is really like what people get into, in terms of, having a better understanding of it. And from your angle, right, it's having a better understanding of the dyeing and all that kind of stuff. And when I first started this, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe, people on a smaller scale were like kind of just emerging. Like I remember people were amazed that if my yarn was a natural color, that I didn't dye it to be a natural color. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, llamas are black or llamas are brown.
Right.
Why would I dye it? Like I didn't even understand the commercial industry. So that's where like local fibers and, slow fashion, all that stuff was like just emerging. I just happened to be, miraculously like on the inside of that. But that was always my journey, was having people have a better understanding about where their fibers came from. My mission statement is putting a face with the fiber, because in the early days too, like I would meet people, and not everybody, I'm generalizing, but that even as a knitter, like they didn't know what merino was, or, like there was just no connection even to the biggest, breed of sheep with the softest fiber. So then you start going into all the other breeds, and that just like blows their mind, that there's different kinds of sheep, and
yeah.
So it was just fun, and of course llamas were completely an unknown thing, whatsoever. So yeah.
I remember coming to you, I think it wasn't Vogue, or no, I think because I've been going to Rhinebeck. I think this was my 17th year going.
Wow.
Oh my God. So I moved back. We lived in New York, and then my husband moved to London for work. So we lived in London for 9 years. And when my son was going into first grade, we moved back because he was totally full-blown English, like accent and all, and we were like, who's that child? Like it's not even, the vibe just wasn't there. It was like, here's this like prim and proper kid with my husband and I, and it was like, you know, that I would speak, and I'm from Staten Island. So, and I was born in Brooklyn. So it's like, who's this? But we moved back, and my mom had already been going to, she would go to Stitches in Atlantic City, and then they would go, her group of friends would go to Rhinebeck.
Okay.
So I went like that second year. And I remember the first time I saw your yarn, I was all excited, and you had the chunky with the glitter in it. And my mom bought, my favorite product of yours is that lanolin. Oh my God, it's the best. I put it on the heels of my feet, and it is the best. If anyone doesn't have it, you need it. I used to say I would come.
If your hands are in the water all the time and everything.
I put it in my face. It's amazing, especially in the winter when it's dry. I mean, it smells, if you get the scented ones, it's good too, but I don't
you
really
use the pure lanolin.
the pure one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like the coconut one you have, and there's another scent too, which are good, but you still you smell it a little bit behind it. Like it smells a little sheepy, but you know what? It works so good. And you wake up the next day, your heels are soft and everything. So I do love that product.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's amazing to think that you found me at Rhinebeck versus like Vogue Knitting, because honestly, I feel like Rhinebeck is such a massive sea of like insanity. I mean, I'll have people.
Yeah, like when I first started going, it wasn't really that crazy as it is now. This year was so out of control that I left. I was like, I couldn't breathe, and it was outside. It was like, I just saw this swarm of people, and I was like, oh my God.
I know, but when you're a vendor, that's amazing.
Oh no, it's amazing. It's amazing. I can't even imagine. It's amazing. But I was just like outside, I was like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. I can't wait on this line.
A mile long just to get a drink. And
I was like, this is just too much for me. So I left, and I, you know, probably Sunday's the better day to come too, but you know, you do have to go on Saturday.
Yeah, you got
but you couldn't even move. And then if you go later in the morning, it's always so busy. And then if you wait a little bit, it dies down. So maybe next year I'll just wait a little bit and then come. Bring my bottle of water, but I don't even think you could bring it in.
I don't know. I mean, it's just it is incredible. But
it's such an amazing experience.
It is. You know, I feel like I always say between that and no, you don't vend at Vogue Knitting Live, do you?
No, I never did it. No. Are you doing it this year?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do it every year. I actually just missed
February,
the first
right?
year.
It's February.
Well, yeah, it got switched to February, so it's the second weekend in February. So like for us, for instance, that's what, you know, we're gearing up for now. You know, again, there's no like 6-month planning in my world whatsoever.
So you're doing it right now.
The fact that I'm even thinking about it right now is probably a miracle. I mean, normally it's the end of January, which really is tough because you're trying to survive through the holidays. And then next thing you know, you're like 3 weeks out from the next biggest show you've got going on all year. And, you know, but it's fun. It's fun. It's exciting. Are you coming?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure yet. I don't know. I got to like look into it when it is. It's a couple of weeks, right?
Second weekend in February.
Yeah.
So I want to say that's like the 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that. I'm sure somebody can drop it into the chat.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, good. I hope you'll come for sure.
Yes.
So I mean, in terms of your aesthetic, we've got that. So what about your favorite bases? So like, what is your, either feel free to talk about like, what are your top sellers, or I honestly don't even really know like the majority of your bases, like what type of fibers do you work with? So
the one that you have in that basket right there, that's called a duet. So we just kind of twisted it together and named it a duet. That's Viola. That was one of our fall colors. So I was giving it to someone and I just twisted the two skeins together and I was like, oh my God, I love that.
Wait, I have to tell you, I'm sorry, like to be interrupt, but we do that too. It's funny because we have a ladder and we kind of make it like a mood board, and it works for us and it doesn't work for us. Now you sell yours together, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the better way of doing it. But we have a lot of art yarns, but it's a great way for people to see how they can pair things together.
Yeah, that's true.
our downfall is though, is that they're sold separately, but we do this like little mood board and twist them together exactly like that. I
And it
mean, not
looks so
that
pretty,
10
right?
people will buy it anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's like, you know, in this case, which is exactly the same thing, you've got the really, really beautiful, you know, the halo from the mohair, and then you've got this little peeking out, and then obviously that one's more of a gradient because it's a darker purple down on the bottom
They're
here.
speckled. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like our biggest seller. That's the reason why we started twisting them together is because everyone would order a slub and a mohair. We call it cobblestone. So everyone would order a cobblestone and a mohair. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to just skein it together. And then we just started selling it as a duet. So we have a few patterns.
So cool. Now, how do you work with that? So do you, that's sort of, I mean, again, always so many questions, but you know, in terms of like your business model, are you pretty much solely focused on dyeing your yarns? Do you concern yourself with pattern support, or does that just kind of come along the way here and there? You know, most of the time, you know, meaning like, are you just selling the yarn and people are going off and doing their own thing, or what's your business
do both.
model?
I do
Okay.
both. I do work with Shayna Billow, who is a local New Jersey dyer that I knew her from when she owned a shop in Teaneck, and she did a lot of testing with one of my friends, and she did a lot of work for Vogue. So I've known her over the years, and I approached her a few years ago. I think it was 2020 spring to do something for us. So we pay her to design for us, and then we own the rights to the pattern, and then we could distribute it as we, you know, want, or put it on sale, or give it away with the free with yarn. So we like to do that. And she did this one too. This is our Stay Cozy sweater. It's a V-neck, and it has, I love the sleeve. That was a last minute thing. So this is using our cozy base, which is a boucle, and I love the texture that it has. So it has, it's like a soft tan, and it has some speckles. So that's the Red Bank colorway. I wear the sweater all the time. It's one of my favorites, but I sort of work with her, and I show like a sweater that I love, or something that I'm loving, and she designs it, and she kind of just gets me. And then, you know, it's awesome. So, or, you know, there's a designer that comes out with a pattern, and, you know, we'll do that too. I used to get all caught up in what's trending at the moment, and it kind of stressed me out a little bit with knitting, because it was like, you have to knit this. And when I had the shop, I constantly had to do like whatever was trending, or people came in, wanted to do cohesion shawl, or this one or that one. And it was like so many at once. I would get so overwhelmed. I stopped knitting for a year or two, because I was like overwhelmed with, oh my God.
Were you on like sort of that like sample nightmare train of like, I mean, that's where I feel like some of my, you know, yarn store owner friends, like they're just constantly making samples. And we had that discussion last night, where I said to Lisa Hoffman, I said, you know, quite frankly, I'm like, if my customer can't envision past this piece and the color that it's in, and the fact that I might not have that color, like I can't keep up on that crazy
It's
train.
hard. It's hard. And even now, a lot of indie dyers knit swatches of every one of their colors. And I'm like, I can't. Like,
I can't.
No, you know, I love seeing my yarn knit up. And I know what it's going to look like I'll take a little swatch, but I can't knit up a sample that's this big of every color before. People are emailing me, why didn't you do this? I want this color right now. Can you put it online? How come you don't have it in the DK? Are you going to have it in the 80-10-10? Do you have it in mohair? Can I have it in the DK? Oh, I really like the worsted. And I'm like, hold on, I got to knit a swatch. They'd be like, I can't. Hold on, before I come out with, I have to do every one of our colors in a swatch. It would be the perfect world, and I would have the perfect studio where I sit there and listening to classical music, knitting a swatch. But in my world, that is not what it looks like. Everything is upside down and twisted. You know, it's funny, we were talking about that aesthetic before, because I had one of my forever friends come, and I haven't seen her in a long time, and we just caught up again. I mean, I've known her from like 3rd grade, and she came to my house, and she's been here before, but she hasn't been here in like 15 years. And she came in, and now my house looks like a yarn store. So it's like there's crap everywhere, and there's stuff here, and there's stuff there, and there's shipping, and there's labels, and the yarn's upside down, not twisted. And she comes in through the garage. Now, through my garage is my studio. So it's the whole basement it's a fully furnished basement, but I've taken it over with bamboo rods hanging from every beam, holding yarn, and it is not glamorous at all. It is by far glamorous. And I never let anyone in there because I'm horrified of how, and it's like, there's dust bunnies flying all over from the mohair and stuff. There's dye splattered on the wall. It's messy. I am not a clean dyer. I'm an artist. I am not a neat artist either. I'm not, dyeing one pan at a time. The water's spilling all over. It's red. The floor's red. It's fine. That's the way it is. It has to be like that. That's how my brain is. And she comes in, and I'm horrified. My husband's like, she must be dying right now that you're seeing this. And she's like, oh, it's so cool. I'm like, oh my God. It is really a studio. It's not pretty. It is messy and dirty. It's not dirty, but it's just, it's a working studio. It's like someone coming to the chicken coop and seeing the chicken, and you didn't fluff it up for an Instagram photo, like you didn't clean it out, and it's not all pretty, and they're not all washed, and they're not muddy, it's like, it's a working farm, it's like, what are you gonna do? So that's my behind the scenes.
Well, I had family here for 2 days. Actually, the family that got me started in llamas, I was pretty much like part of their family, Lars and Gail. And half the time I didn't know if they were like more my parents or my grandparents. And they had 6 kids. And so 2 of the daughters, actually, Lisa lives in New Jersey and Kristen's in Arizona. And so they were visiting. So they came here. Just a similar story. I guess Christopher must have mentioned to them something about we have a basement as well. That's a finished basement. And that's normally where like my store is set up. But right now my store's out in the barn because we did that for the holidays, which means downstairs is a complete hellhole. And they were like, oh, well, we want to make sure we see the basement too. And literally I froze, and I was like,
or die.
And then they saw my face. They're like, what? I go, why do you want to see the basement? And then they're like, well, we thought, I'm like, no, everything's here. Everything's
right here.
The basement, because
no
the basement looks like it vomited because I moved everything. And then of course, now I have aspirations, which I'm going to do, because once everything's emptied out, I don't know about you, I'm like, okay, we're going to reorganize, and we're going to get rid of that stuff we don't need, don't use, and start fresh.
That's what we're doing next Tuesday. Actually, Lisa texted me today because a few weeks ago I said, this is what we're doing. Because every year in January, we run a sale with my seconds and it's like, we go through all here. And if there's anything that's not, like one piece doesn't belong, we have samples or colors that it was like a different lot, other than, we had a 1 left over. We go through everything, put it in bins, label everything, pack it up, and then we put it on the website and we sell it. And it's we just not give it away, but it's like we just give it for the wholesale price or half of whatever it is, and then we start fresh. So it's like that clear out. I'm so excited. So we have to go through everything next week. So that's what we're doing. So next week we're taking everything out and doing it, and it's worse, but it's better at the end because it feels so good.
Yeah, it's like a cleansing, right?
It's a cleansing.
Fresh. It's like
usually in the busy
spring cleaning.
Exactly. And we have a busy season from September, really like August, but we're really dying. Like now is my slow season. I don't mean to say it like a slow season, but it's like it's quiet. So January, February, March, and then April, it's like I could chill a little bit, like I could breathe. So, I mean, I say this, but I'm like exaggerating. I really can't, but I make believe in my head that I am, because I have nothing hanging over me. I don't have to really do anything as far as like events. Right. So it's like I could make my own schedule up, and it's good.
We've got people going on in chat. I'm assuming, is TJ your son?
Oh, TJ's my son. Oh, teach
Yeah.
TJ how to swatch. Yeah, that's going to go over really well. Someone, I posted on my personal I have Sparkle Knitter is my Instagram, and I posted like a reel of like everything I did, not everything, but you know, like a little glimpse of what I did last year. And I have to say, I told my husband, Tad, I was like, I drink a lot of coffee, I walk a lot, I sit in the sun, I knit. What else do I do? And I play with my journal. So someone in the comments wrote, oh, something to the effect of where they said my gains. So I posted a picture of my son like this with his muscles, and he looks identical to me. I think they think that that's me. So I was like, but like he has big muscles. I don't like I have that. But
So
it was
see,
really
he can't
funny.
possibly have long hair like you.
He has a lot of hair, and it's like it's like this color, but it's like
Right.
it's like shorter, but he does look exactly like me. It's very weird. When people meet him, they're like, oh my God, he looks just like you know, you look like your mom.
Aw.
I think he was in the yarn shop dropping something off, or he was somewhere, and a customer came up to him and they're like, I know your mom. Are you TJ? Her, because you look just like your mom. And he was like, oh my God. Oh
Oh,
God.
well, at least you can see the resemblance. That's funny though.
Yeah.
Well, hey, at least it's a family affair. So you never know. I mean, you might be able to get him something as long as he's living in that house then. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. He just graduated college 2 weeks ago, or last week, was it? Or whenever,
Oh.
right before Christmas. So he's
What did he
done.
go to school for?
He went to school for agricultural economics.
Cool. What's he doing with that? Well, actually, now I remember. I think we were talking about this when we zoomed together. But
Yes.
what's his
So
hope to do with
it's
that?
really interesting. With that degree, you can kind of go anywhere. He could go into the food industry, he could go into commodities, he could go into farming, he could work at like a supermarket, like, you know, for like Kroger's or Safeway, or, you know, like big supermarket chains, or I mean, there's so many things that he could do. So I think he is going to go into the commodities end of it. So we'll see. So he's looking for jobs now, and that's the fun part now.
Well, that's great. I mean, at least so somebody's saying that they're curious about your journaling, how you got into it, how you do it. So maybe if you want to
Oh,
make it.
sure. So I tend not to try to bore people with my journaling, but I do it every day. So I got into it. Sandy by the Lakeside was posting she journals, and she kind of got me into it. Sandy by the Lakeside, she has a vlog on YouTube, in case anybody doesn't know. She also does Vlogmas as well, and she got me into it about 3 years ago. I started it, and it was like I just got, I can't even describe the feeling, but it was just became a hobby, and I stuck with it every single day. And this is my third journal year. Every morning I have a corner that my husband calls Crayon Corner, where I sit. It's a little cheap desk that I got at Staples. I think it was like $39.99 on sale, half broken. The drawer was broken, and we got it. And I put 2 shelves up, and I just sit there with my morning coffee, and I play with stickers and stamps, and I journal. And I do it for like a half hour a day, maybe. And I love it. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube. There's a lot of links in Instagram. There's tons of hashtags that I searched and just became consumed by. I love it, and it's amazing. It's definitely taken over my life.
So I have to ask you, because maybe then you know something about this. So my family that was here, Kristen, who's from Arizona, she kept talking about she makes it's like scrapbooking, but it's for journaling, and you are basically like decorating journal books. She kept calling it her paper craft, and then she showed me. So it was like she was like making a journal book, and like using different fabrics or fibers or stickers.
That's
or
cool. Mhm.
and and now she said that there's, she does it for her own, because I felt bad. I was like, people buy this? Like, I mean, because in a way it looked like something like a third grader made, or if it meant something to her, like it was super cool. She actually had like a label from a sweater that her grandmother made, that it had like her grandmother's, like we now all have our Made with Love things. It had her grandmother's name on it, and like she had told me the back of the book was like covered with like fabric from somebody's drapery. So like when you're doing, so it was like scrapbooking in that way, but when you're doing it with things that are important to you or significant to you, I get it. But she says this is like a thing, and she follows.
And Lila in the comments said it's called junk journaling, and you can search it on YouTube. I have gotten, I've gone down the rabbit hole. I did want to buy an old Jane Eyre book and cut it out and make my own pages and stuff, or you buy vintage books, you could find them on eBay. And I went down that road where I was going to do it, and I was like, nope, stop it. I actually have, this is my journal from last year. It's called Hobonichi Techno. And the paper is made in Japan, and the paper is really, really thin. So it's a Japanese company. And like, here's my pages, it's just like, I just add stickers and washi tape and things like that. Like it's just, but there's so many of them. So this is
what are you like, do you say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna, is the journaling about putting your thoughts on it, or
sometimes I'm busy, I write like a couple of sentences, really, I know this sounds like I'm not even making fun of myself, but I don't do much. I dye yarn and I ship orders and I cook and clean the house. I take care of my kitchen, my dog, my chickens. Like, I don't do much. I don't really go out that often either. I know I sound like a loser, but I watch TV at night. Like, I'm tired. I wake up early. I work all day. You the same. And then I go to bed at night. I'm like, when I was younger, I went out, I did everything. Now I'm turning 50 this year. I'm tired at night. I don't really have any aspirations of going into a club or dinner or any of that stuff. I enjoy sitting on my couch, waking up with my coffee and journaling. Again, I sound like a total, but that's what makes me happy,
That's all that matters.
And I love knitting at night, and I like doing that. But I don't really have much to say.
Well, no, and I only ask because, and I'm not criticizing, I just like, in my head, if somebody's journaling, they're writing. And then when you started opening that was certainly entertaining, and there's, it's very colorful and it looks fun. So I was just wondering if there was anything around that.
I do. I write like what I did the day, I write stuff, but again, I don't really do that much. But if I went for a walk or did something, I write that stuff, or, I wrote what I made for dinner or something that was the highlight of my day that day. And, I saved it, and I don't really, to be honest, I don't really look back on it. I just enjoy memory keeping it every single day. And I like the way it feels. I feel accomplished at the end, if that makes sense. I mean, I have a journal where I write my work stuff down and what I have to do, like dentist, 2 o'clock, like stuff like that. But that's not really that fun. This is more like just, sticking stickers on it and, yeah.
Well, but if you think about it, I mean, it's probably your like form of like morning meditation.
Yes. And I find that I have like a health journal. I'm writing down.
Wait, you keep more than one journal?
Yes, I have a health journal where I write like what I eat. I keep track of how I'm feeling, what I did as far as exercising. It's a lot, but I feel like that helps me and it keeps me on track. And I like to see the progress. And sometimes when I don't write in it, it's when I go rogue and I have a lot of cakes and
You're like, let's close the book. Let's not talk about it. If we don't write it, it didn't happen.
Right, exactly. But it did, but we just won't write it down.
We're not going to admit it. We're not going to put it out there for the world to see. Exactly. Or, it's like in stone. Don't write it in stone.
No. So I do, I keep track of that. And it's just like for the pretty paper and stuff that I like to do. But this is, to me, it just is, is this is fun, and it's just like a hobby that I like doing. The junk journaling is fun too, so I like to do that, and then I knit. So
But I love it. I mean, look, this is exactly too, why I love doing these kinds of things. I mean, you're on one hand saying, oh, I don't want to bore people with this, but like, to some degree, you can only watch and listen and talk about so much in the way of knitting and things like that. I mean, of course, I can talk all this stuff all day long, but I think that this is, again, it's part of the story, right? Like just getting a little bit of something else out there, about ourselves, like actually, and only because I know you guys are really good friends, but like when Sophie and I kicked things off and like, we just went down this rabbit hole of like how 13 was her favorite number. And then, that was my mom's, favorite number. And, because she was born on it. And then we were talking about how my mom used to love to go visit cemeteries. And, so there was just that interesting thing. And then somebody else behind the scenes, my dear friend Jennifer, we were talking and, she's like, oh, I love things like that. So, it's just, again,
my mom used to do that too. The cemetery. Really? And she used to take me with her all the time.
That's what I said. Growing
we used
up,
to do gravestone rubbing.
Well, we never did that.
I was like, Mom, I want to go to the mall.
It's a form of art, right? Yeah, but we would always do weekend trips. My mom always planned these like educational trips that were like stacked with like itinerary. She was so funny. My poor dad was just like, oh, whatever. When she had like the clipboard and we're like, we got to go here, and we're visiting this and we're doing this. And, and it was all educationally based, little fun thrown in. But I'm telling you, every trip, we always had to go to a cemetery. She didn't make a big deal about it. Sometimes it was like, she'd drive by, jump out, go do her thing. But yeah, so it's just, my point is like, that's the fun stuff, that comes out of all of this, is that we all just get to know each other a little bit more. And then somewhere, right, we don't all feel so weird when somebody else is like, I do that too, or, or somebody learns something new. Like, honestly, right now, hands down, I'm like that Aura ring. I'm like, that's the coolest thing. I've never heard of something like that. Yeah. So, there's so much value in all of it. But I'm going to jump to the next topic because, again, like I've told everybody, before you know it, it's going to be like 2 hours. And, I've already told everyone I'm going to have to hashtag it, but it's like I'm going to be like the Joe Rogan podcaster of the fiber world. Like I'm going to have 3-4 hour, things because
I need some cigars and some whiskey. Well, I think he smokes a lot of weed.
Yes, yeah, no, that would, I don't definitely do not think I could do that.
I can't imagine being on right? Can you imagine being on a podcast and he's just so straight too, and he's like talking about to a guy that's in Nepal that just climbed my Everest, and then he's smoking pot, and I'm thinking like, aren't you high? Like, how are you doing that?
I would either like forget what I was saying, lose track, or I'd just start staring off or something, or who knows. But no, I mean, it's but it's that same like interesting, like I just love how it kind of rolls and goes on and I do have the gift of gab, and it's been great vibing with you too. And so we need to talk chickens.
Yes.
So, I mean, again, I only know a little bit, but I know that's a big thing for you. And then, of course, talking about your chickens, and that's going to segue into talking about your coop collection. But for anybody that doesn't know, tell us about your chickens.
So, so I have 17 freeloaders that I take care of every day, all day long. And I say freeloaders because I have 17, I have 15 hens. So 15 freeloaders that basically don't even lay an egg a week anymore. And I have 2 male roosters.
Is that because of their age?
Yeah, well, and it's also winter time, so they go into
Yeah, but I mean, how old are they?
They're 2.
Oh, they should still, I mean, probably kick back in again.
But I think around March, right?
I was going to say, stupid fun fact, like basically hens start to lay eggs somewhere between 4 to 6 months of age. And then basically menopause is like at 5 years of age. But a year and a half is peak. And then it's just all downhill after that.
It's all downhill. So I actually kept track of the eggs in my book. On the top, it's like 5 eggs, 4 eggs, 5 eggs, 4, 5, 6, 6. And then at the end I would tally. Well, I have nothing to write about because they're not laying anything. So it's all blank. So then I started keeping track of the weather. But yes.
Now,
So
what kind are they? What kind are they?
Oh, I don't even have any two that are alike. It's like a free for all. They're all different.
Okay.
So,
well, how did you, now, of course, I got to be like all nerdy over here. So how did you happen on that? Because like, for instance, I mean, in terms of being able to buy poultry, you can either do it through a catalog, believe it or not, folks.
Yeah, I have the catalogs. Yeah.
Or you can, which ones do you have? Do you have Murray McMurray?
The M. Yeah. And I look at all the breeds, and that's kind of how I.
So did you get like one of those mixes? Is that how you ended up with the variety?
So we have a place that's in Jackson in New Jersey, and they have a website, and it was April of COVID. We decided that's what
COVID chickens.
Yeah.
You made a COVID purchase of chickens. Everyone else makes puppy purchases.
Yeah.
And you made chicken purchases.
Yes.
I love it.
Because I always did want a coop. And then finally, and I was kind of afraid, like, what if I don't like it? And I like going all into a hobby. Like I'm all in. I don't like just dabble into it. If I'm in, I'm going in. It's sort of like the journaling. It's like I don't have one notebook. I have like a whole corner where I could open up a journal store. So with the chickens, we started with 6, and then we ordered 6 because you had to order them online, and they would explain the eggs and the color eggs and if they were docile.
And again, I'm going to be a total geek and just jump in. The reason why you have to order 6 is it's actually a law, and that's something that they created to avoid people from being able to just buy like 1 or 2. Like literally a baby chick law.
Yeah. So even if you go into Tractor Supply when they have them in March, you have to buy you have to buy 4 to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So we bought 6, and then at the last minute I saw they had 4. They had silkies.
Yes.
So, and I wanted the fluffy ones, and we got 4 of them. So anyway, it turned out we lost like 5. They had pasty butt and like all this stuff, and it was like really sad, and I was like hysterical crying. I was like, this is so mean. So I had these like little chickens. So then we went back the next week and we got 6 more, and I think we just lost 1. So we wound up with 12 chickens, and we had 1 little small coop, so we had to add an extra one. So we put it together, and we have the one that my husband, I don't know, it was like from Sweden. I don't like it at all. It's called the Igloo, and it's plastic. It's actually bear proof, so it's very safe. So nothing can kind of get in, but I really wanted like a beautiful inspo sort of chicken coop. So we were into it. My husband was like, just like it for 6 months. If you like it for 6 months, then we'll have a coop built. So the following year, the girls got an upgrade into a McMansion. And but what happened was we added new chickens so that we could have. So we added new babies, and we got 7 chickens, and they all made it. And those 7 chickens are, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, but very bitchy. So they all fight.
Whatever you want. That's not even a curse. So please not my book.
I mean, mean.
That's as soon as, didn't you hear me? As soon as you said you got new ones, I'm like, oh no, that doesn't work.
Oh,
it doesn't work.
I had no idea. So here I am. I'm like, oh, look, I got you 7 new sisters. They were like,
and they're like, and they're like, it's lunch. Those are like little chicken nuggets to them.
And I was like, oh my God, you're mean. They were also mean to the little babies. It was drama. So we got this big coop so we could put all these chickens in. So now we have coop 1 and coop 2. And every time,
like sublet apartments.
Swear to God, it's hysterical. And the coop 2, they got the short end of the stick because they're in like what we call the not so nice coop. They're in the plastic bear coop that, it's like, it's not the palace that the other ones are in. And I tell them
Yeah,
every day,
yeah.
I'm like, well, if you were nice, you could be living in the McMansion, but you're not nice. So
No,
yeah.
it is. I mean, that's the one thing, I mean, for anybody that's not involved in poultry, sadly, chickens and pigs are extremely cannibalistic. And then bizarrely enough, one little drop of blood, like they'll see a tiny little drop on a piece of shavings and like
They peck
eat
at it.
off of it. Oh, they're terrible. They are.
Terrible. So
They are
we
terrible.
have two roosters, and the one, he's not nice at all. And he's really a jerk. Like, he's very mean, and I'll say hello to everyone in the coop, but I don't say hello to him. Of course, I'm not mean to him, and I would take care of him, and I love him, but I ignore him, and I'm like, I'm not saying hello to you, because he comes after me like every time I
Does
go
he
in
do
the
his
coop.
little like side dance?
Oh, I'm like, dude, you're like not even a foot tall. Like, I could just
Oh
kick
wait,
you. And
is he a bantam? Is he a
yes,
bantam? Yes,
oh, he
those-
comes.
they have
Terrible.
Napoleon complexes.
Oh,
The
he's this
smaller
big.
the smaller the bird, the bigger the attitude.
Oh
I'm
my
telling you.
He
Yes,
is
bantams
a
are the
riot.
worst.
He comes out of the gate the first thing in the morning. I'm like, morning, girls. And he comes right out all flaring with the arms. He's like coming at me. I'm
He's a
like,
little
come
side
on.
dance.
Yeah, he does the side thing. I'm like, oh my God. So, and then we have another rooster in the coop too. He's huge. He's bigger than a turkey. He's ginormous. And his legs are like this thick, but I guess the girls, they peck at him, because if he bleeds or something, if he gets, they just peck at him. I see the blood, and I just see one. That's why they always say if a bird is wounded, you won't know until they die the next day, because they hide it, because they have to hide being sick.
Yeah. No, it is funny. Well, I'm sure you probably know about it. Do you know that they make that stuff called no pick to cover it?
Yes, I've seen that. I saw that
It's
Tractor
like-
Supply.
It's like this thick black tar because you just have to cover the red. It's bizarre.
It's so weird. You would never know. That's why what were we giving them? A fruit. They like red. Oh, I had
They
my
love
nail
watermelon.
They love watermelon.
Yeah.
But I had my red nail polish on, and I went to go give them, I
Yes.
was giving them food, and they were picking at my nail, and I was like, what? I was like,
Well,
this is
and
food.
shiny stuff. Like I don't
Shiny
have any
stuff.
rings on, but if you've got rings on, anything shiny,
They're like,
they're so attracted. They like shiny things. They love that too.
they're like me. It's like, oh, it's shiny.
Oh my gosh. Well, so out of this, I mean, I know you told me a little bit about it. So is this where, even though you just said the coop collection, but I mean, that's so talk about how that all came
Yeah,
up, because
so
that,
we
and then I
started-
promise you guys, because that's gonna segue into we're gonna sort of flush out our collaboration, but I know what I want it to be, and we've talked about it before. So this is gonna segue into it, using her coop collection as the launch. So tell us about that.
So we have one, I think we might have finished the coop one. We have one more coop to go. So
Oh, wait, do you do multiples throughout the year? Or?
Yeah, so for the last, I guess, since we've had the chickens, we did the coop collection, and each month we were doing it, although it became a lot to do each month. So
Oh my
we
God.
haven't, it was a lot like with everything else that we had going on. So we kind of like put it on the back burner. But we have the second coop to do, and we have to like bring it back up. So we're definitely going to bring that back up this spring. So we do like a monthly, it's a monthly box, or was a monthly box, but we only have 6 more left. So I kind of like to space it out. My husband said I can't get any more chickens. So unless I just make some up. So I have 6 more or 7 more, and then that's it.
Wait. So was it because, so was the coop collection, when you say the box, were you doing one for every?
Yes,
Okay.
one for every chicken. So it was based on the personality of the chicken. So
That's
a
right,
lot of
that's
people were like, oh, I got this one and it's, red. It's not, the chicken's brown. I thought I was getting brown yarn. And I'm thinking, why would I dye brown yarn. Like that would be so boring. If you got brown yarn, you want the personality of the chicken to come out in the yarn. So that's I do need a cow. I do want a cow. I want a Jersey cow
Oh,
that I could milk, and then I could have milk and cream and all that kind of fun stuff.
oh, no, no, no.
I know. My husband's like, no, because with cows, you have a lot of poop.
Oh my God. And the poop is so messy, so messy. Like 80% water. I mean, that's why they have the whole cow chip bingo thing. A whole nother division.
We'd have the cow theme. Yeah, I don't know how that'll work, but you know. So we have 7 more left to go of the chickens, and we're going to bring that back up in the spring. So we just do one a month, or maybe one every 2 months to spread it out, and that way
And what came in the box?
So we got a sock yarn with a mini skein, and then we did like a little extra thing, like there was always a tea or a sweet, or we had pins made, or Katrinkles did some stuff for us one month, and Chasey Penny did a chicken stitch marker one month. So it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know, I'm like so excited. I only hope you're just as excited.
Oh, I love it. I love this stuff. This stuff I love doing.
So back when Christina and I had like talked, you know, the small collection that you did for me, that was as a result of my knitting cruise that I did, you know, I just kind of like reached out to a bunch of different people, again, totally last minute, because that's how I roll. And I wanted to just get some stuff dyed up. But prior to that, we had talked about, you know, doing a collaboration, and kind of flushed out like the initial idea. And then I'm not really sure why, you know, life, whatever. It was sort of like we talked, we chatted, it was there, and it just kind of got left out there in the ether. We did this little collection, but in the back of my head, I am not letting this go. And I know I had already mentioned to you, so hopefully you're on board with this.
Yeah.
But so we don't have a time frame, like nothing. I mean, literally, we haven't even talked about it since the last time we did. But when Christina and I were chatting and she was telling me all about her coop collection, I was like, done, that is it. I've always wanted to do a series or different things related to my animals. Now, originally my idea was always like, maybe like pattern and the yarn. I mean, really, if you want to know my idea, it was always to be able to do like a runway show with like yarn, let's just say like Sir Arthur, and then there was like a yarn related to him, but then there was like a pattern, and both the animal and the model was like strolling down the runway. I'll get there someday.
That would be cool.
I will get there someday. But when we were talking about this, so I want Christina to help me, not you're going to do the dyeing, to do a Kriya collection. And so if I could, look, all I saw was Ruth Ann's face. So my idea, at least at this point, is, you know, we've got 5 babies that were born last year. Now, of course, if I can get it rolling, you know, we could always, you know, do them as soon as they're born. But I think the significance for this was that, you know, getting a chance to know them and flush out the personality, like you were saying, that's exactly it. You know, you're not necessarily going to be dyeing it based on what the animal looks like. I mean, that could be part of it, but it's really just the vision of the personality and all of that. So my idea is to do my best to convey to Christina, you know, the 5 babies that we have and what their personalities are like, which of course is super easy, right? We've got baby Jay, who's the oldest, and he's the rat. He's the troublemaker. He is spicy. He's always getting spit at, you know, he's just always causing trouble. Very like alert personality, you know, very on guard. Nothing's going to get past him. I'm not even sure if he sleeps with his eyes closed. So, you know, that's baby Jay. Then our next one is Munson. And Munson is the sweet boy next door. Everybody loves Munson. You know, he's the one that's kissing everybody and everybody can love all over him. And, you know, of course, he's got gorgeous fiber and beautiful eyelashes. And I really don't think he has a mean streak in his body, but so he's just the sweet boy next door. And then we've got Luca. Luca is our male model. That's actually where he got his name, because when he was born, he had these long legs and he was jet black and he was quiet. He was a mama's boy. And I'm like, he's like a male model. And we started Googling male model names and we found a couple of them were named Luca. I'm like, that's it. That's
I
his name.
love that.
So that's Luca. And then we've got the one that's my favorite, that on February 6th, Friday, our wrap-up party, he will get his official name. He does have a name. I've decided on it, but I can't tell you that because you have to join us on Friday. But I've been razzed up and down because this baby is 5 months old. And I just like never settled on a name for him, but he is my favorite.
Like Kylie Jenner.
So he's got gorgeous fiber. He's very proud. He's very mischievous. He's very always noticing things. He's the investigator. He's like super curious, but he's like always at arm's reach. Can't really touch him. He wants to see you. He wants to be there. And he's always hanging out with his dad, who's along the fence line. So he's got fluffiness, and I'm really hoping he gets ears like his mom. So that's our fourth baby. And then our fifth baby is my only girl. That's baby Lana. And she's the little princess, but she's sassy. She's a sassy princess because she's the littlest. She's the only girl, the last one born. She had a little trouble the first couple of days and she rallied like there's no tomorrow. So, so she's like sugar and spice and all of that mixed together. So those are our 5 babies. And essentially, I want to do the same thing and kind of have these like installments. We're just going to do one at a time. And of course, we'll start off with baby Jay because he's the eldest, and to do like, a little kit. So it'll be the yarn, maybe we'll figure out something else fun to go along with it. I mean, I'm hoping Christina will help me with some of those ideas because I do love your packaging and all of that. And so that's the idea. But it's an idea that's absolutely going to happen. I'm super excited. And actually, I'm really hoping it'll be something, we can continue on. I mean, as of right now, God willing, we have 3 babies due next year, but they're not due till, well, it is next year. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, it is next year. So, but they're not due until like later, like end of summer, early fall. So, and even at that, when they're first born, we need this, kind of personality to develop. So, so that's my idea. And I'll even throw out there, not that I think this would be part of it, but I also do have this whole like Kriya kit. So eventually, if I do work with somebody to get baby patterns, that I thought it would be super cute to kind of have like a baby kit where if you were gifting it to somebody, the lanolin that you love, perfect for somebody that's having a baby. So right. Yes. With like, maybe like a cute, baby diaper pin and, and the pattern and, it would all be based around my baby llama. That's an idea I've had forever. That's an idea I've had forever. So this is the year we're going to like make things happen. Things are going to come to fruition. So I'm super excited, guys. We don't have dates. I don't have it flushed out, but I know Christina said she was up for it, and we will definitely be thanks Tracy, we will definitely be catching up after this and get it rolling and see where we land and get things going.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be so fun.
Well, thank you. And I know my yarn is a lot different than, what you normally work with. So just as we're kind of rounding it out, I'm curious, like, did it take up dye differently? Like, and you can say there's goods and bads, like I was just curious how it was different for you, since my understanding, as I've learned, that's not really the kind of yarn that's out there that you guys are able to access.
Yeah, so I knew going in that it would definitely take the dye different. So the colors would be more muted and softer and more natural, especially because there was like a natural undertone, even though the yarn that I usually dye it's more white.
Yeah.
It's natural, but it's more crispier. But I knew going in that anything I really couldn't do, but I don't really do vibrant, bold colors anyway. So I knew I really wouldn't have a problem there. And I was really looking forward to the softer, muted tones. So, and that's what I I love that. Like, that's my vibe. So it was like, for me, it was perfect. I was like, yeah. I had so much fun. Yeah,
Good.
that was awesome.
Well, I'm glad and I'm so appreciative of you jumping in. And like I said, I'm honestly like beyond excited to make this project happen. I just think it'll be really fun because, of course, those of you that follow me on social media, you know my cast of characters, you know the babies. And, look, even though in the end, all these babies aren't necessarily going to stay with me because that's part of my journey as breeding and raising these animals. I can't keep them all if I want to make new ones. But they still will be with me for a bit of time, and then even when they move on, the nice thing is oftentimes I can keep you guys up to date and things like that. So I'm super excited about getting this going. So we're definitely as based on Christina's availability, we're gonna jump in and start hashing some ideas out there. So definitely stay
That's so
tuned.
exciting. I can't wait.
Well, thank you. I'm super excited as well. So I do want to say, kind of with that, I want to just wrap up with a couple of things, remind you guys of some things. Thank you so much for being, such a great group. And I know people have jumped in and out. Of course, don't forget within just a couple of hours, because God bless my IT person, she wakes up at some godly hour and she will upload this to YouTube. So if you've not checked out our YouTube channel, please do that. Subscribe. If you're not following my stories, I do reside mostly on Instagram, but those stories, of course, transfer over to Facebook, so you can watch them there and get to know us a little bit more if you are new to us. But again, guys, my coupon code for you is Holiday Life, LIYF. That's going to get you 10% off anything that you might choose to order. And if you do, then don't forget that that is also going to get you into the drawing for our gift basket that will be raffled off on Friday night. So for every $10 that you spend, the ticket will go into the basket. And again, as I said, it's valued at about $550. We've got some yarn from Christina in there, many of our other guests that you guys have seen already, or if you haven't, go back and watch those episodes. But there's everything from patterns and books to yarn to roving, needle case, finished goods. There's a baby alpaca scarf in there. There's actually a hand woven one of a kind pouch that's in there using alpaca bamboo fibers. So just lots of different things. And then the culminating was Kimberly had donated a Hohi bag. So I don't have that in my hands yet, but that will be added to it as well. So that's what I've got for you guys. And I do thank you, of course. I do want to remind you guys, of course, that we're on the 9th day. So we still have a couple of days left to round out our 12 days of Christmas. So tomorrow night, I will be joined by my dear friend, Amy Kidd from Follow Your Arrow Farm. So kind of going back to a little bit more like agriculturally related. She is a science teacher, but does have her own flock of Gotland sheep at home. She dabbles a small amount in fiber. There will be a yarn drop tomorrow, a little collaboration that her and I had been working on behind the scenes. So we do have that coming up for you guys. And then after Amy, we're actually going to be joined by Christy of Birdie Parker Designs. So super excited about that. The time was finally finalized because she was on vacation. So that'll be 7 p.m. on Thursday evening. And then January 6th is our wrap-up party. That's going to kick off at 7 p.m. I'll certainly invite any of our guests if they want to come back and join us as well. But not only the raffle will be happening, we'll be officially naming the unnamed llama. So that will be happening. And honestly, it's going to kind of be your turn to interview me, because I've been the interviewer for all of this. So, come to the forum with every your questions, comments, anything that you've got for me, guys, and really looking forward to it. I can't even believe we're almost at the end, but of course we will continue. So before we leave, anything you want to leave us with, Christina?
Me? No, thank you so much for having me. That was awesome. This was awesome catching up. I'm glad we got to catch up and, we let life get in the way, but it's always fun talking and chatting. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm looking forward to our collab.
Well, and I hope I can get you maybe here someday, because I know
I really want to come. I really think it would be so fun to come and meet all the animals. So before we do the collab, I have to come and visit.
Well, if I can get you here, that would be amazing. And
That would be
definitely
fun.
for me, I need to roll things off before I start cheering season. So if I can get you here before April, that'll be fabulous. Might not be the
Definitely.
warmest,
That's
but
fine.
we'll I would love to have you here. I'd love to treat you here.
That's awesome. I'm excited. So we'll get on dates and stuff. So we'll do
Yes.
that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be following up right away. Absolutely.
Okay, good. Good.
All right,
Look
guys.
at her.
Look, for those of you in the chat, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for all the smiles. Thanks for being here with us. Have a great rest of your night, and see you in the DMs as always. So thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.